What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today I'm going to be giving you 10 tips on how to actually buy a car. Now, this is probably one of the most requested videos I've ever gotten, and I wanted to make a video for you because I'm just doing these steps as we speak. I just purchased a car in Portland, Oregon, and I'm getting ready to fly up there to buy the car and drive it all the way back to Vegas. So all these steps are critically important. They're a lot more deeper thinking as far as how to work a deal and how to structure a deal that I'm going to show you, and how to think outside the box to get better deals. And so make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end. And if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button YouTube algorithm, if you enjoy the content, I would truly appreciate it. Once again, follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and let's get into the video. I almost forgot to thank today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Common Sense, because without it, you're screwed. So on this channel, I try to give you two viewpoints. One is a consumer and one is a dealer. So this way we can give you the most information we possibly can to work a better deal. The first tip is all about attitude. When people used to come up to my dealership looking for a car, I would go outside, I would greet them. Hey folks, how you doing? How's your day going? Is there anything I can help you with? Smile on my face, trying to be as friendly as I can. And I was met with, fuck you, fuck off. I'm only looking at cars. Don't waste my time. Don't try to sell me anything. People were extremely rude. Now, I know that car buying is not the funnest process, and a lot of people hate car salesmen and car dealers. That is understandable. But you have to remember that it's a lot easier to catch flies with honey instead of vinegar. So when you're talking to these people, be funny, be respectful, be nice, because if the salesman likes you, more than likely he'll go to bat for you once you start the negotiating process. I can't tell you how many times where people literally disrespected me, treated me rude, not even like a real person, but then 10 minutes later, hey man, can you give me a better deal? Can you lower the price? Can you do this for me? Can you do this for me? The way every other person's going to think is, okay, you just called me an asshole. Why am I going to go out of my way to help you? And you need to think about that on a human level. So before you go in there, start being rude to everybody and saying, this is what I want, and blah, 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 and everybody can F off. Just remember, if you're more friendly and you have a positive attitude, you will get much further with the car buying experience. The second tip is all about pre-qualifying yourself. You need to give yourself a reality check. If you make $30,000 a year, you're a married guy with 2 kids, you should not be looking at a Corvette or a Mustang. You should be looking for a family car, SUV, or a sedan, something in your budget. I can't tell you how many times these people go to the dealership with these pie-in-the-sky dreams. I need to have a brand new Mercedes or a Ferrari or a Lambo, and they find out that 1, the car doesn't work for them, 2, it's not in their budget, or 3, they can't even fit their family in it. So bring yourself back down to reality. Sit there and really think, what do I need? I need a transportation car, and also think about your long-term goals. Don't go out and buy something crazy expensive if you plan on buying a car in the next year or so, or if you plan on buying a car for your spouse. You want to leave enough money there so your DTI is not all whack, your debt to income, and you could purchase a car for your spouse or maybe be able to afford a new home. Don't rob your financial future just to buy a shiny car that can make you happy for a year or so. Tip number 3 is picking a car and doing all the research on it. The miles, the features, whatever options you want, and especially the price. You need to make sure that you come equipped with the right amount of knowledge before you go car shopping. I've had it where I've actually had one of the cheapest cars on the lot. I had this Mustang that was $7,000 cheaper than anybody here in Vegas. And for some reason, everybody came to mine and still wanted $3,000, $4,000 off. If they would have taken the time and looked online and saw that, wow, this is the cheapest one, they would have made an offer for almost what I was asking for it. I ended up selling it to a gentleman that came all the way from California because he knew the price of what I was selling was actually cheap. Also, it gives you leverage when it comes to negotiating. When you try to negotiate with a car salesman, you say, I need the price cheaper, I need the price cheaper, that's not gonna help. But if you print out 4 or 5 Auto Trader ads and say, look, here's 6, 7 cars that are all the same features, same miles, everything else, but they're all like $5,000, $6,000 less than yours. You give that with your price to the people and it'll help you negotiate, which I'll go into here in a little bit. But this is something that will help you in the long run once you start picking out your car and we get to the negotiation phase. So now that we picked out our cars, next phase we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get pre-qualified for a loan. Now this is very important. That's why you pick out your car first. You're gonna give this VIN number or VIN numbers to your banks and you're going to ask them what kind of rates you're going to get. Now, you need to go to not only local banks, but credit unions and ask several ones before you run your credit. You have to remember, every bank is different. Some banks will give you more years on newer cars and less years on older cars. Some banks don't like miles. There's some banks that don't like certain models. They won't give you 72 months on a Mercedes, but they'll give you 72 months on a Malibu. These are some of the things you need to ask all these bankers before you actually run your credit, before applying for a loan. Now, once you find maybe 2 or 3 banks that you like that are giving you the correct information, you say, you know what, these rates are great. I like the loan structure. I like everything about it. I'll go ahead and run my credit with you. Try to pick 2 to 3 banks. Try to run your credit on the same day with all 3 banks. So this way you'll have 3 competitive offers. So if one of the banks fall through or has some sort of issue, you have 2 other ones that are equivalent to that. So now, most times once you get pre-qualified, they're going to give you a letter or they're going to give you a check. So make sure you have the letter or the check ready. Put that with your Car Gurus or Auto Trader printouts, and that'll save that for the negotiation phase. Now, the 5th tip is getting insurance quotes. This is very important. I've had a lot of deals through my years that have been soured by overly expensive insurance. We had this guy who was 25 years old. His dream was to buy a GT convertible Mustang. We had one on the lot. Guy worked 3 summers in a row, was a hardworking kid going to college. He deserved the car. He could afford the payments. He had great credit. I think we got his payment around like $350 a month, but when his insurance quote came back, it was a little over $320 a month, almost as much as his car payment. So he couldn't afford it. So this whole time he was building up in his head, he was so excited about, getting his Mustang, he didn't think about what the insurance would cost him. And especially now after the pandemic, insurance prices are getting extremely high. My insurance has doubled. I wasn't even in an accident, but for some reason Progressive wants to double my insurance, so I'm getting ready to switch. But this is some of the things you need to check before you get sprung up on and find out you can't even afford this car. I've seen people go out, buy cars, use their regular insurance, and then get back home, call their insurance company to try to switch the quote, and next thing you know, the insurance is too high, you can't return the car, and you are left with that overpriced insurance payment. Now that we got all these steps out of the way, we need to go back and we need to pick out 6 to 10 cars. Now, this is where Car Gurus, Auto Trader, all these other ones come up. And the reason why we have you pick 6 to 10 cars is because it's very important. We want you to get out of the mental aspect of thinking that this car is the only one. We don't want you to get emotionally involved with it. You can see that there's 6 to 10 other ones just like it. So even if you don't get this deal, you won't be heartbroken and you won't go over your budget and you won't extend yourself to a point where you're financially hurting yourself. You can see there's many of these to pick from and you're good to go. So once you find 6 to 10 cars, we can go ahead and move on to the next step. Now, even if you're looking for a rare or exotic car like I was, there are lots of cars out there. Even if you're looking for a Lamborghini Huracan or a Ferrari 488, trust me, there's 6 to 10 all across the United States for sale, especially when it comes to economy cars, trucks, and SUVs. So don't believe in the hype of saying, well, oh, I need to get these particular cars. I only want this one car. Find 6 to 10 cars, and then we move on to the next step. Tip number 7 is don't be lazy. This is a very important part. People just want to call on the phone once or walk down to their local dealership and be like, hey, can I get this car for the lowest price possible? And they get told no, then they get all sad. Oh, dealers suck. Everything's overpriced. No. Don't be lazy. You line up all these 6 to 10 cars and you start calling, texting, emailing, showing up to the dealership. Hey, what's your name? Your salesman's name? Oh, your name is Brandon? Okay, Brandon, I want this car for this much. I have a pre-approved check. Can you get somewhere around there? Get the prices. Okay, this is what you can do. Do that to each one of these deals and keep going back and forth. You want to work as much as you can to save as much money as possible. These cars can be in your state. These cars can be one town over or 1,000 miles away. Like I said, I'm getting ready to drive to Portland, Oregon to save $14,000. So if I'm willing to do that to save a bunch of money, why won't you? It's because people are lazy. They just want to call on the phone, give me the lowest price. And when they get told no, they want to cry and whine about it on social media. Put the time in, call all these people, get as many offers as you possibly can written down, and bug these people for days, for weeks, for months, however long it takes for you to get the deal that you need to be comfortable with financially. Tip number 8 is called working the deal. So after you pick your 6 to 10 cars, going through those cars, you're going to weed them down to maybe 7 or 8. You want to get all the way down to maybe 3 or 4 cars for your final choices. And this is where you really start to work the deals. You start sending the pre-approval letters. Hey, look, I'm a serious buyer. Here's my pre-approval letter. These are the numbers I want. How close can we get to that? And just keep bugging the hell out of them. Also, once you get some of these deals and you get one dealership that's giving you a good deal, don't be afraid to take that deal and send it to the other people to see what kind of deal they can give you back. Now, this is very important when you're working with somebody out of state like I was. I wanted to make sure that there was nothing that's going to pop up, which we're going to go into another tip, but I wanted to make sure that they saw the deals I was getting from other dealers and how they need to be competitive. And dealers like information. You can always ask for the best price, the lowest rate, whatever else, but if you're coming with a pre-approved check, you got numbers from other dealers, they know you're a serious buyer, it's less likely that they're going to bullshit you, kick you around the door. They just want to give you the good numbers so this way you can come in and buy a car from them. Now, tip number 9 is called closing out the deal. This is very important. You need to really sit down, take a breath, and think, because you went through all these other steps, getting the loans, insurance, everything else, and we're towards the end, so people tend to let off the gas and let down their guard. This is when you need to be at your sharpest, because now this is when the money is going to start exchanging hands. This is very important. Those deals we talked about, once again, you're going to do what's called a hard offer. You're going to say, hey, look, I have a check from my bank for $65,000. Here it is. I agree, my name is Billy Smith, I'm going to agree to buy this car for $65,000 out the door. No fees, no bullshit, blah, blah, blah. You take that to, let's say, your favorite 3 cars, and you send it. And you got to be especially firm if you're buying outside of your state, because you don't want to fly there and have all kinds of issues. So once you get to this point and you make sure, hey, look, there's no type of issues, you're giving me these numbers. Once you get confirmation, they'll give you a purchase order, you give that to your bank, you go through the numbers, make sure there's nothing excess, sales tax paid, everything else, you're good to go. But this is something where closing out the deal is where you want to grind out the last bit of your numbers before you actually go inside. So here's tip number 10, check your damn paperwork. Now, you are an adult. It is up to you to look at your paperwork. Dealers will always try to screw you. So what I mean by this is, if you got them down for the sales price of $65,000 and you're walking in, they can't get you on the sales price. They're going to try to get you on financing or something on the back end. So every time they hand you a piece of paperwork, you need to double check it. Now, the good news is they can't get you with bank fees and other stuff because you have your pre-approved check. That eliminates 90% of the bullshit, but they're still going to try to do something at the end to tell you that it's needed. So they may tell you, hey, you're $65,000 all out the door. Once you get to your paperwork, every time they hand you a piece of paper, it's okay to ask them, what is this paper? Can you explain it to me? And then read it again yourself. Typical bill of sale, make sure the sales tax adds up. If there's any other additional things, you see some sort of keychain fee, aftermarket warranty, some sort of service contract, tell them to take that shit out. You don't want it. Either give you a refund. If you do want it, that's fine. If that's the deal you made, that's okay. After you get that, read every single page before you sign it. Because like I said, I've seen people sign stuff and next thing you know, they gave them the $65,000 check and then they find out they owe $2,000, $3,000 for additional fees. So don't get caught. After that, make sure they give you a copy of the Carfax. Once you go through the Carfax or auto check, you look at all the information, make sure there's no flood damage, any type of major issues you weren't made aware of, initial each page, because a lot of people will not show it to you. So this way, if there is some sort of issues and you try to resell it 2 years from now and it's got a bad Carfax and you're getting 20% less than what you thought, you can go back to the dealer and say, hey, you didn't show me the Carfax, we didn't have it signed, you need to buy this car back. So it's very important that you check the Carfax, sign it, not only for the dealership, but also for your safety as well. Next, one thing I'm going to tell you guys to pay attention to is what's called the as-is sticker. Every car that's sold at a dealership comes with an as-is sticker unless there's a factory warranty. Now, you need to double check it if it's a new car that has low miles. Remember, some cars, even with 30,000 miles, are already out of factory warranty, either because of the year or because of the certain model. So make sure you do your research and find that out. A lot of times, if a car is warranty voided, like somebody was racing it, doing something bad, they need to put that in the notes. If not, you can actually return that car under state law. So remember that. So if you do get a car and you take it to a dealership and the warranty is voided, you can go back to the dealer and turn in the car. But double check that. Make sure that if you agreed to a 30-day warranty, it's in there. Everything they say, you got to make sure it's in writing. Once you sign that off, you're good to go. Next, they're going to give you what's called a we owe. And this is very important. You need to make sure that if you made any deals with this dealer, it has to be in writing. So if you bought the car and they said they were going to give you floor mats, in the we owe. If there's a dent on the door and they promise they'd fix it for you, bald tires, they're going to swap them out for you, None of that shit matters unless they write it down on the WEO. So anything they say they're gonna do, make sure it's on the WEO. And then after that, after you sign all this paperwork, it is up to you to make sure you get a copy of every single thing that you sign. This is something that I've seen dealers do to rip off people. So if you come into a dealership and you're like, oh, I love this car, but it's got some scratches on the front end. Oh, we'll fix them for you. We'll fix them for you. Here you go. We'll put it in writing. We'll put it on the WEO. So they sign the WEO. Customer gets the paperwork. They don't check to see if the WEO's in their packet. Dealer grabs the WEO, tears it up, throws it away, puts a blank one in the deal jacket. So when you come 3 months from now, like, hey man, you guys are supposed to paint my car. I haven't gotten any calls. Oh, there's nothing in the WEO. We don't see anything. You never signed it. So, oh, sorry, you're stuck with the car and now you're screwed. Make sure you get a copy of every single document that you sign. As a consumer, this is your ammo if you ever need to go to the DMV to file a dispute on a vehicle. Because you can't say, oh, they promised me they were gonna give me new tires and this. If it says in the WEO, the DMV will go to the dealership and say, give this customer the tires or we're gonna fine you, because it's in paperwork. If they sold you a car and you're like, hey, look, the Carfax was clean, but then it came back dirty later on, they need to give me my money back. You have to have proof of these things to make something, to make an actual complaint. So it's very important that after you get all this stuff done, you need to take the time and make sure you got every single document signed. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any tips or tricks, please share them in the comments section below. Also, let me know any crazy stories you've had where you've shown up to a dealership and they try to do the 180 on you or anything crazy like that. I always hear the bait and switch thing where people will say one thing and then completely show up with another deal. But I'd love to hear your comments down below. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you next video.